It's important to understand how colors work together to showcase each other or to be backdrops. Hey everyone, I'm Marianne Mitchell. Welcome to Whole Artist Mastery, which is all about owning your true authentic voice, making compelling work, and knowing how you want to show up in the world as the artist that you want to be. Today's discussion is about color relationships, complementary relationships, muddy and clear color relationships, and how when these colors come together, what they do to each other, and how you can use these relationships to create certain effects in your painting, to create luminosity, to create depth, to create shallow space. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, it's important to understand how colors work together to showcase each other or to be backdrops. So I'm going to be using orange and blue, which are two complementary colors, and white. So let's go on over to my palette and get started. I'm here with my glass palette, which I think is the best kind of palette for mixing paint on. However, you will see on your screen a little bit of reflection of me and my hand, and possibly even the camera that's bringing to you all of this wonderful material. The best way to make complex color is by mixing complementary colors together. So it's essentially red, yellow, and blue, the three primary colors. So I have blue, which is the primary color, and orange, which is mixed with yellow and red. So you put all of those together and you get a complex color. Complex colors are made with three or more colors. Simple colors are primaries and secondary. So in my language, I consider a secondary color, which is made of two colors, still a simple color. By the time you start getting into 3, 4, 5 colors being mixed together, you're getting much more complex or muddy. So I'm going to show you what happens when you have a cool muddy color and a warm muddy color next to a clear cool and a clear warm color, and we'll move on from there. So the first thing I'm going to do is mix all the colors. I'm going to start with white, and the reason I'm starting with white is that I want the values of these colors to be lighter than darker. So when you're working with a lighter color, you always want to start with white. The first one I'm going to make is a warm muddy color, which means that the ratio has to be that the dominant color in this is the warm color, which is orange. So I'm going to take this much orange, put it in here, and a little less blue. So it will be a warm muddy color, which will probably be more of a brown. Now, it's always important to remember to start with less color. You can always add more as opposed to taking it out. But if you have started with too much color, the best way to make sure that you end up with the amount of color that you want as opposed to a huge pile of an unwanted color is to take half of it away and continue mixing with only half of it. So I'm going to add just a little bit more blue, make it a little bit more muddy. It's still a warm color. So I'm going to take this and add it in and see whether I need to add any more blue to this. And I think I'm going to leave it as it is for now. And as you'll see on a glass palette, I can take a razor blade like this and just clear away the excess here. And now I'm going to go back to the white, start with white, and this time add more blue and less orange. So I want to make sure this is not a dirty blue, which this is turning out to be more blue. So I'm going to add a little more orange to it to make it a little less blue derivative looking. And now we're getting a pretty nice gray here. You see how that happens? So this is a cooler color than this one. And if I want to make them a little lighter, I'm going to add a little bit of white to each one. And take some of this and add a little white to that. That shows up the warmth and cool a little bit more when you have more white in. The first color relationship I'm going to create is the warm, simple, or clear color and a cool, complex, or muddy color. You could also call it gray. I'm going to come in here and try to get this up close without, so that there's no white space without bringing the orange into the gray. Always a challenge. You can go watch my video on creating edges if you're interested in understanding how to create edges between two colors. Okay, so that's the warm color, warm clear color next to the cool muddy color. Now I will put warm muddy color next to a cool clear color, which is the blue. And there we go, I got a little blue into it. So I'm going to push that back. Like that. There we go. Now I'm going to put the cool color, the cool muddy color next to the cool clear color. And there we go. And now I'm going to put the warm muddy color next to the warm clear color, or orange. And you can see okay. And the last color relationship, I already have the two clear colors next to each other, is the cool muddy color and the warm muddy color next to each other. By the way, I'm using a squeegee to put the color down. You can get this from the Cold Wax Academy. Their squeegees are great to work with. They come in all different sizes. This is the 4-inch long squeegee. And I'm just going to push this in there. There we go. Okay. So what do you see here? Now, one thing I have learned over the years is that everyone sees color differently. So I'm going to tell you what I see, and I invite you to, as I'm talking about what I see, to really look closely and carefully and share how you see these colors in the comment box below the video. I would love to hear your thoughts about these color relationships. We'll start with the warm, clear, and the cool, muddy. I see that there's a certain vibration going on here between the cool and the warm and the clear and the more complex or more muted color. That's another way of saying it. Whereas, and that's also true here between the cool, clear color and the more complex muted color. There's a vibration, and also I see that the cool color next to the warm clear and the warm muted color next to the cool clear really showcase the clear bright color. Now if we go over here to the two bright colors next to each other, they're almost canceling each other out for dominance. There's a flatness or there's a lack of push-pull here because they're both the same intensity. Whereas here, there's a dominant and a subordinate, a dominant and a subordinate. But the subordinate is also dominant to the subordinate clear color, because without the more muted color, this has a lot less movement in it, and same with this clear color. Now we go over here to the cool clear and the cool muted, and the warm clear and the warm muted. To me, there's a little less color vibration, a little less luminosity emanating from the color relationships when they are the two warm and the two cool next to each other. I see a little bit more of a luminous color combination here as well as here. Again, I'd love to know if that's what you see. And then the last one here are the two muted colors together, which really show how they are also in some ways canceling each other out. They're much more dull when you see them side by side than when you see each one paired with a clear color. So all of these color relationships are in play with, as I said in the beginning, the kind of space that you create in your work. If you want there to be more of a shallow space, then you can have more clear and clear color relationships. Also, if you want to have more of a shallow space, but you want to have more muted grays and complex colors, you can have all of the muted and complex colors together. In these four color relationships, there's more space being created here because the muted, complex, or dirty colors, muddy colors, are showcasing or are acting as sort of like a supporting actor to the star of the show, which is the bright color. So remember, when you are looking at your color relationships and trying to figure out if they're working or not, consider what is happening between more muted or dirty colors and more clear, simple color, and whether simple colors are next to each other, muted, dirtier, more complex colors are next to each other, and how the reflection of a muddy color with a clear color creates depth and luminosity in your painting. I hope this begins to bring some clarity to your color mixing and your color relationships in your painting. I'd love to hear your comments down below. And if this has been helpful to you, you know, it really helps Whole Artist Mastery, and for all of those who are following Whole Artist Mastery, to like the videos, because the more people we have who are on board here, the more the world hears about understanding this whole relationship between how we intellectually understand artwork, emotionally connect to it, and use the instrument of paint or other mediums to convey our message, our story, our meaning, our intention, whatever word you want to use. So thanks very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next discussion.